Tel Aviv. I'll begin by asking you, after months of conflicts, and it's been 100 days since the conflict in the West Asia began. We are once again seeing direct missile exchanges between Iran and Israel. What would you like to say on this escalation, and does it risk pushing the region into a wider war?
Well, two things. First, it's not exactly exchange of shooting. Iran attacked Israel. So Israel is responding to an Iranian unprovoked attack. That's one thing. The other thing is that the Middle East is not being pushed into a conflict. It is in a situation of conflict when Iran, for the last almost 50 years, has presented itself as the enemy of most of the Middle East. And as you know, have sent proxies to Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen. And even in the last conflict, we see how they shoot at their neighbors, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia, of course, Israel, Cyprus. So I think that it's very clear who is the culprit here. And I think that Iran must be tackled. And into your question, well, there's a bigger picture of the United States, of course, negotiations between Mr. Trump or the Trump administration and Iran. That is the overall or the bigger picture. We don't know what's going to happen there. And the situation is very volatile. To be honest, what I'm telling you right now, which is almost 2 p.m. Israel time, can change this afternoon or this evening. Nobody really expected, even last evening, that this will happen. So any guess is it's anyone's guess what's going on. It is clear, I think, that Iran is a very, very big threat to the peace and security of the Middle East, and it has to be tackled by the international community. That would be the best case.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the recent escalation have raised fears for collapse of recent ceasefire efforts? And do you believe diplomacy is losing ground to military calculations?
I'm not sure. I think that if you follow very closely what Iran has actually done, then it is clear that they are not satisfied with the negotiations or with the blockade. In fact, two things seems to bother Iran very much. One is the economic situation. So sanctions, the flow of oil, the American blockade, that's one thing. And the second thing is the situation in Lebanon. They're very much afraid of losing their ally, their proxy Hezbollah. So in fact, I think this is actually a good sign. If Iran is unsatisfied, it means that the rest of us should be satisfied. We should be happy if they are in an unpleasant position. If they find themselves not in a good position, that's a very good message to the entire international community. And of course, as much, or let's say, if we push them more and more in terms of sanctions, economic pressure, etc., then the possibility of achieving perhaps a better deal, that possibility grows.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Adi, how do you assess Iran's strategy at this stage? Do you think that Iran is seeking deterrence, regional influence, or a broader confrontation with Israel? And also, since you mentioned about the economic factors, the oil prices are surging, and there is a growing concern over the Strait of Hormuz closure and all. It is already closed. How much pressure do economic factors place on the political leadership of all the sides involved?
Well, to be honest, I think that Iran has fully moved from a calculated regime to a very fundamentalist regime. Imagine the impact on the Iranian economy of these last, as you said, 100 days. Estimates talk about $500 million each day. Now, a responsible government that actually says, we don't intend to develop a nuclear weapon could have reached a deal, years ago, perhaps decades ago. The fact that they're so adamant that they're not willing to give up that uranium, for example, uranium dust, the nuclear dust, what's everybody calling, means that for them, it's a question of survival. For them, they moved into a fundamental mode, state of mind. And I think that they were much more calculated, much more careful in the last decades. I think they have moved into another phase, which is much more dangerous for themselves, by the way, for the population of Iran, and for the Middle East at large. So I think that we are moving into a very dangerous situation, and leaving that regime in charge, I think will be very, very dangerous.